Today's episode is dedicated to Matthew and Johnny Gaudreau. Johnny Gaudreau, Columbus Blue Jacket, Matthew Gaudreau, minor league hockey player who tragically lost their lives last week caused by a drunk driver. Johnny was a Columbus Blue Jacket for 2 years, going into his third season, and played in Calgary before that. He signed in Columbus the summer of my internship, got to bring his jersey to the press conference, and always was a class act around the organization and the people that work there. Our hearts and our prayers are with the Gaudreau family, and today's episode is dedicated to them.
Welcome back, listeners. Happy Wrong Side Wednesday. In a world full of champions, we are once again finding ourselves on the wrong side. Labor Day weekend, great long weekend. Football is back. Michael, what have you been up to?
Great weekend, 3-day weekend, no work today. Got to relax, did some studying, got some stuff down around the house, worked out, productive day. Great weekend. Got to watch a lot of football on Saturday. Got to enjoy. Hung by the pool a little. Helped Moops move into his new apartment. Did that Friday and Saturday, so I got that
Awesome.
knocked out of the way. And then hung out with some friends just to relax. Had a good weekend. Nothing too crazy, but it was kind of nice to get a day off. Feel like we were kind of hurting for once. At least I was since July 4th. And now we're kind of here and really no more days off for a bit now. Summer basically over, everybody says, after Labor Day, but now we got some stuff on the weekends that will keep us busy and won't be looking for things to do. How about you? How was the lake trip at the cabin?
It was awesome. Like you said, desperately needed that day off. We were talking about it earlier in the week. It feels like the day before summer vacation, waiting for the clock to hit 5 o'clock on Friday before a long weekend. But yeah, so there were 12 of us that went up to a cabin about 3.5 hours away in Wisconsin, middle of nowhere. Like if you ever need to hide a body, like that's the place to go. So a little terrifying, but the house was amazing. Pool table, foosball, hot tub. Lot of land. We did an outdoor beer Olympics on Saturday. On Sunday we drove about half an hour away to do one of those river floats, which I had never done
Oh,
before. You got
just like you
uh
go out there or it's guided. Some of them are like guided when you do like the crazier
no,
ones.
it was just us. It was it was a little bit ratchet, but it was a really good time. We're all pretty hungover from beer Olympics. We're like, we're either gonna sit in a dark basement all day or really try and get after it. So at some points, this river was about 2 inches deep, so you're really
Okay.
just coasting over the top. We did get stuck a few times. We have a few larger fellows, including myself, down there. But there's a tube dedicated for the cooler. Got a couple in. Got to sit in the sun. It was a really good time. It was a really good time, but not guided at all. I think if you don't have a resourceful and intelligent group of human beings, bad things could happen. But
Yes.
uh, great trip. Like you said, watched a ton of football, drank a lot of beers, and I'm ready to talk some ball. So Ohio State, I'm I'm not happy. I'm not. This was not a perfect day. I know I was getting yelled at in the group chat that I was disappointed in the team. There's a lot of good signs, but when you're playing a team, when you're the Ohio State Buckeyes, the world famous Ohio State Buckeyes, no less, I want to see you come out perfect against Akron. So I know you think differently, but what were your thoughts, Ohio State week 1?
First question was it's a two-parter. When was the beer Olympics and what place did you get?
The Beer
You can plead you
Olympics.
can plead the fifth on the second one if you don't like the answer.
The Beer Olympics started about 30 minutes before the Buckeyes did.
Okay.
So that may or may not have had something to do with my emotions
Takes.
in the group chat. Also, I am pleading the fifth on the plays, which may or may not have also impacted my temperament in the group chat.
Got it.
Um,
Okay.
yeah.
Good to know.
hmm
Good to know before I take my take. I just needed to hear the backup and the honesty. Yeah, I was shocked at the takes you were throwing out there. I definitely figured the beer Olympics was part of it. I thought maybe there
Yeah.
was some box score watching that also could have came a part of the plan, but I was actually it was exactly kind of how I figured the game would go. 17-3 at the end of the first half. You kind of expect a team with this many guys to not be perfect for the first 24 minutes. I think there's still a lot of chemistry. It's so much different than playing at camp against the guys you know. Everything's
Yeah.
perfect. There's no hitting. Everything's got to be the way you do it. And the second half, they came out and showed us they're the Ohio State Buckeyes, and it was awesome to see. Couple highlights I liked. Offensive line definitely struggled at times in the first half, but grew as the second half continued. One thing I really enjoyed was when they did pull the starters and the main guys, and they got Devin Brown and the other receivers and running backs, et cetera, in there. They kept the O line in. The O line playing the entire game, which was good to see. I would love to keep seeing them get reps, get them as many reps as possible. I need to see them get the reps, not Judkins or Henderson or Emeka or
Yeah.
Jeremiah. I know what those guys can do. Those guys are the ones that need the reps. So I really appreciated that. We had a couple third down scrambles for first downs from Will Howard. It was awesome to see him use his legs. He's not Lamar Jackson. He's not someone who's going to beat you with speed, but he knows what he's doing out there. And he's a true
Yeah.
vet. He's a fifth-year player from Kansas State, exactly as advertised. And I thought actually Howard looked incredible the entire game. I thought he was making all the throws. We had an insane amount of drops in the first half, which I think
Yep.
he ended up being a little over 60% completion. I think he could have been closer to 70% if they catch those first ones in the first half. And the last thing I really like to see was it felt like the run defense was kind of shoring up. They weren't getting beat over the top, which was nice to see. All their kind of yards were quick 4 or 5 yard out routes to happen. Denzel obviously came away. That was an insane pick. He ripped it out of his
Yeah.
freaking hand, which was awesome to see. And then Powers with the tip drill catch pick six. And I know Hancock, right? It was no, sorry, Ransom.
Ransom? Yeah.
Nathan Ransom, one of the most underrated players in college football, showed out again, scoop and score. He was incredible. And they come away with the victory, 52-6, dominated. I was super excited. Great signs. Kind of tough, I think. We're not LSU, we're not USC, we're not Notre Dame, we're not A&M, we're not Georgia, we're not Clemson, because those are games where like panic buttons have been hit, I feel like, because you play in
Yeah.
good teams, you are a good team. How do you recover in games like that? We have 3 weeks of kind of warm up games, which is totally okay. But I loved everything I saw. Stat of the day, I will say, was Jeremiah Smith, who had 6 catches for 92, 2 touchdowns. He looked as good as advertised, especially being an
Yes.
18-year-old kid. Seeing him hit the zone 6 celebration on the first touchdown. I saw a great tweet today. I sent that to you in Moops, but basically it was Marv catching it, him catching it, and then Jeremiah was finishing the pullover. That was cool. But stat of the day about Jeremiah, which I don't think a lot of people saw, I saw it on Twitter, and it was kind of cool to see. Chris Carter, all-time great at Ohio State, all-time great in the
Yep.
NFL, also dropped his first pass in college football. So he dropped
Wow.
his
I did
first
not
pass.
see that one.
Jeremiah Smith dropped his first pass. We kind of freaked out a little because I think if Jeremiah catches that, he could be gone for maybe 30, 40. But
Big
he dropped
game.
his, and he came back big. He showed up. I told Meg that I was ready to say it after one touchdown, he's going to be better than Marvin Harrison Jr. at Ohio State.
I don't think that's crazy at all. I think starting with 2 touchdowns, I believe he is sixth all time in true freshman receiving touchdowns in a season. So only place to go is to continue going up. He looked great. Will Howard did look great. The way he was able to use his legs, breaking a ton of sacks that I don't think Kyle McCord was able to do last year. You're already seeing like why we went out and got somebody else. So I was very happy with Will Howard. There were a lot of drops that was very disappointing and did kind of send me into a tailspin a little bit. The stat I saw, Will Howard started 0 for
0 for
4,
4.
6 for 7, 0 for 5. So like that
Wow.
was a little weird, a little sloppy. Like obviously ended the game great. Like we are us, Akron is Akron. There was never a doubt about the final score, but I think we punted on the first drive, missed a fourth down here and there. The offensive line did get it together, as did the defense. The defense looks ready to go. Those DBs are hungry. I hope it continues to trend in that direction. The O line I was worried about for a while, but they did continue to settle in. And obviously, as that scoreboard gets bigger, the defensive pass rush is probably decreasing a little bit. But overall, Buckeyes look great. Another shout out I wanted to give was James Peoples.
Yes.
Did not really know who that was. If this was the beginning of last year, I would still have no idea who that was. But due to College Football 25, I am very high on James Peoples. So it was great to see him get in the end zone as well. Few warm-up games here and there coming in, but Ohio State is here. My anxiety is through the roof, and we're right where we need to be.
Yeah, I think you kind of hit on the nose with Peoples. He was 6 carries for 30 yards and a touchdown. Better game than Donovan Edwards if you look at their
Oh,
numbers
yeah.
statistically. But
Mm-hmm.
that's beside the point. I will say, though, about Peoples, I think he has a bright future with the Buckeyes. Henderson and Judkins, most likely both of them, are leaving after this year to go to the NFL, get their money, go do their thing. So he might be our main back next year. So very interesting to see. Would like to potentially the next couple weeks, if we could get a dominant first half, maybe to be up 38-40 nothing in the first half.
Yes.
My goal, not my goal, but my ideal scenario would be, I realistically, I know what Devin Brown can do. He's a Buckeye through and through. I respect him for doing that. And
Yep.
but I really want to see Julian Sang get a couple snaps. If we're up big, I would like to see him up. Maybe he give him the fourth quarter. If we get to a point the next 2 weeks where we're up big in the first half, sit Howard. Let's play with DB one quarter and Sang with another, and let's just see how they roll. O-line, like we both mentioned, Donovan was out as well. That's one big
Mhm.
piece that would help us in the run game, help block, do all that. But I don't give him his credit often. I will shout him out here, a little outside Ohio State realm, but still connected. McCord had a great game at Syracuse. I know they played Ohio in MAC, but I was telling Moops about it this weekend, and the thing with Kyle McCord is, I'll be the first one to say it. I don't think Kyle McCord's a bad quarterback. I think Kyle McCord is a good quarterback. I just don't think he's a good enough quarterback to be the quarterback at Ohio State.
Yeah, that's
He's
fair enough.
he's
I
a
mean,
good QB. He
yeah.
does the right things. He has a good arm. He's smart. He's just not Ohio State caliber, which is okay. It's very tough to be Ohio State caliber quarterback. It is no knock on him. I saw Fran Brown shout him out, say, I'm going to have to send Ryan Day a bottle of champagne. It's still early. Everybody gets excited that first week. I understand. But I just think, maybe the tides and the opinions, he wins that game in Ann Arbor last year. I think he's still the quarterback of our camp. No matter what happens in the playoffs, he's the quarterback for our team. So definitely a different perspective to look at, but I will give him his props. He looked well. I know it's still Ohio MAC team, still nothing crazy, but look well, happy for him. Do your thing. Just not good enough to be a Buckeye.
I'm not happy for him, but he's not bad. So go do your thing up in the Great White North. Go beat up on MAC teams, but he's all right. He's all right.
Yeah,
Fair
he's
enough.
fine. So that was Ohio State. And looking at some other games on the weekend, we just kind of want to hit on the big ones here before we get to our interview. First up, LSU versus USC. Thoughts on that last night? Big game in Vegas. Photo finish at the end. Woody Marks, I think was the running back who scored the last touchdown.
Mhm.
So very interesting there. Miller Moss steps in, fills in Caleb's shoes. What were your thoughts on the game?
Miller Moss looked great. I thought he was very impressive. I think overall there's definitely been a change in the USC offense. Like obviously Caleb Williams is Caleb Williams. There was a ton of deep shots, like crazy one play touchdowns. There was a little more drives from Miller Moss in the team. And one thing I did find kind of interesting was the way Lincoln Riley approached the end of the first half.
Yeah,
Um, Kind of playing for a field goal, ran it a couple times late, like got down to probably about like the 7, 10, 15
missed.
yard line, basically missed it. So you're Lincoln Riley. You're the offensive guy. How are you not playing for a touchdown there? So I thought that was kind of interesting. Another thing I wanted to bring up was they might actually have a defense. I think a lot of people, myself included, were on the over in this game. Two teams with high powered offenses, a lot of new names on both sides of the ball, but still two great offenses. And it missed by 14 points. So USC might have a defense. LSU's defense obviously has not been under the same scrutiny that USC's has over the last couple of years, but USC might actually be more of a team this year than as opposed to last year, the Caleb Williams show. So it was very interesting. Great game overall, probably the best game of the weekend in terms of like close games. But yeah, you're out in USC country. What do you got there?
Yeah, I mean, I watched the game last night with a lot of friends. I was with some friends. Their kids go to USC. They went to USC. They were pretty excited. I was just kind of rooting for good football. I really couldn't have cared less who won the game. I've never been, never will be. When I was growing up liking USC, and now currently when I root for Ohio State, I've never been a conference over conference guy. Don't give a shit really about it.
Mm.
I saw that the Big Ten went 17-1 this week, so congrats to them, I guess. But Minnesota blew it.
Minnesota. My
But
sister was there. It was sad.
but for me, I beating LSU, I don't care that it doesn't mean more. I don't care. I'm not accepting USC and Oregon and Washington, UCLA's as guys in our conference. But congratulations to USC, I guess. So I've never been a guy like, oh, well, good thing Michigan won because they're in the Big Ten. It's great
Oh
for
yeah, hell no.
revenue sharing, or good thing Michigan State made it. Like, I don't care like that. I have never cared like that. I'm worried about Ohio State only, and everybody else can fuck off. But in the game, I will say, offense looked fine for USC. Like you said, I think they put together more drives. There wasn't Kyron Hudson had some crazy catches.
Yeah.
Zachariah Branch is electric on returns. But I will say, bringing over the DC from UCLA, who took UCLA from 120th to 26th last year in total and overall defense, now coming over to USC with some better talent, I think they have a much better team, a much better defense. LSU is a good football club. Brian Kelly's very overrated, never been a fan, but like he dominated. He dominated the line of scrimmage. They weren't running that much. I felt like both, to be honest, like you mentioned about Lincoln Riley, I felt like both of them have been known to call very good plays, and both of them didn't call good plays yesterday for the
Yeah.
running, the weird time of the clock. I said I've never seen anything like this when Lincoln wasted 2 timeouts in the third quarter. Very uncharacteristic of him. Very not right like him. He's very quick on the clock. The field
Yep.
goal that they missed in the end of the first half, he was just playing safe. Very odd as well. I don't know what the issue there was. Maybe it was the moment. Maybe it was something else. But Miller looked great. Stepped in, did everything right. Made some great passes. There were some great catches, obviously. Nussmeyer, he's both these guys waited their turns behind Heisman winning quarterbacks, and
Yep.
Miller looked ready to go last year in Louisville, and I know Nussmeyer won against Wisconsin in their bowl game, but Nussmeyer didn't look like he's ready to take the helm. Jaden Daniels may be more important than Caleb Williams. I don't know if that's a statement I'm willing to make, but definitely could be argued after last night. But I don't know. We'll see. If USC can snag a game from Michigan, that'd be ideal, but not really putting
Yeah.
all my chips in this basket yet.
Fair enough. What's the deal with Brian Kelly? Nobody likes him. He's never been able to actually like take a step to being a relevant contending program. A lot of heartbreaking losses at Notre Dame. Basically flew off the handle in the press conference afterwards.
Yeah, that was so
Took
cringe.
It was so cringe. I mean, just cringe in general. So, I mean, I guess he'll win you at a big Power Five program like Notre Dame or LSU. You're gonna win 8, 9 games, 10
Right.
games, a lot of those years. So, what is he good for at this point? I know it's a long season. I don't want to really hammer the overreaction button, but Notre Dame fans hated him. They're honestly in cahoots with LSU fans this week, being like, "This is the Brian Kelly experience." I'm sorry for you. So his time may be limited. I'm not going to go as far to say he's on the hot seat after week 1, but Brian Kelly, nobody likes you is kind of the message there.
100%. And I think he doesn't have a playoff win. They made it a couple times as the undefeated Notre Dame team. Um,
Yeah.
LSU, it's a big program. I saw a stat which I couldn't believe. In 2019, with Coach O and Burrow and that mega team, they won the national championship. Obviously, it was great. They were undefeated that year. They haven't won a week 1 game since that season. It's been 5 straight years.
Wow.
And next year, they have Clemson on the road, neutral site, for a potential 6 straight loss. We'll see if Brian Kelly's there. I always never understood the Coach O firing. I felt like it was maybe more management after his personal issues. I think it was off the field stuff,
Yeah, that's
which
what it
is what
seemed
caused
like.
the firing. But I think a lot of fans, especially there, I don't know how many fans would say no to bringing him back right now. But very interesting. Like you said, not pressing the overreaction button yet on those two teams. Next game we could look at before we go into our quick rival, maybe not rival recap. Notre Dame A&M. Quick thoughts. What were your takeaways?
Notre Dame's legit. I've been a Riley Leonard guy since last year. They're dominating in the trenches. They have probably a top 5 defense in the country, I'd say. They walk into Texas A&M, one of the allegedly
Yeah,
one
Kyle
of
Field,
the
number
most
one.
one of the most difficult stadium environments in the country. And Freeman looked ready to go from a coaching standpoint. And it like we just said about Brian Kelly, he would always lose those games in heartbreaking fashion from the beginning. That video that's been going around of them walking out of the tunnel, they're ready to go. I think they are ready to prove some people wrong. It'll be interesting to see long term how Notre Dame looks with the 12-team playoff. But our friend Derek, he's a closeted Notre Dame fan because his mom went there, so he was raised a Notre Dame fan, but wised up once he got old enough to switch over. He went to Ohio State with us. Obviously, Ohio State is still number 1, but I can already see the tide turning in his mind a little bit. Notre Dame may be back, is what I have to say on that one.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like I mentioned last week's episode, that was a must-win game for Notre Dame. They have to go undefeated in my mind to even be considered to make a playoff. The best thing that happened to Notre Dame wasn't even them winning on Saturday; it was USC winning on Sunday to strengthen USC's
Yeah,
record to show that if they beat them at the end of the year, it's a good game. It is a cakewalk schedule, a cupcake schedule. There's nothing I'm too worried about. If Notre Dame doesn't, like I said, Notre Dame loses that game. Let's say USC loses that game, and they're unranked going into week 2. Notre Dame's a much different team at the end of the year. Yeah, we'll see.
for sure.
Their defense looked good. Riley Leonard, whatever. He looked average at best. A&M's offense stalled. I couldn't believe it. But their defense, surprisingly, Mike Elko coming over from Duke, he's turned around program after program on the defensive end, and it looked like
Yeah.
it was for Texas A&M. That was a hard-hitting defense, kept them in the game. Obviously, running back for Notre Dame, dominated, but they're going out of Kyle Field 1-0. Kyle Field takes a big one, and we'll see how A&M finishes. They got a tough schedule. The SEC is really good, and I think Elko is a good coach, and you can see it quickly in one game, but got to win big games to show that you're
Also is
good.
very familiar with Riley Leonard coming from Duke.
Yes,
They're playing
yes,
each other week 1, so
yes.
Riley Leonard, I don't think he could, like you said about McCord, I don't think Riley Leonard could be the quarterback for the Ohio State Buckeyes, but moving forward, I think he'll be a really solid Notre Dame quarterback. I think he'll be better than Sam Hartman was last year, is my
Yeah,
take.
yeah, I agree. I think Sam Hartman, he had the aura slash career on his side. He was like a 3-year starter. He'd been there forever. Or no, I'm sorry. He was at NC
Yeah,
State or ever and then transferred. So like big name guy, had that same kind of thing. But kind of I think he was probably regarded higher at those couple of years. I don't
for
Riley
sure.
Leonard hasn't really popped up on many Heisman odd lists, but I feel like I remember seeing Sam Hartman very consistently on there. So we'll see. Notre Dame's got FSU in the middle of the season and USC at the end of the year, and A&M always has to go through the gauntlet. And we'll
Yeah.
see. Maybe their yell leaders can scream a little louder for a win. But looking inside the Big Ten, two teams. Quick thoughts before we move on. Oregon, Michigan, thoughts.
I'll start with Oregon, and I didn't watch this game too closely, so this is a little bit of box score watching. But what the timeline had to say, what the internet had to say, was sloppy, sloppy, sloppy. Tons of penalties was really the definition of the game. Gabriel 41 for 49 for 400 passing yards. That's bonkers. Like that is absolutely ridiculous. So maybe the penalties make this a blowout that it should be. That looks like a more of an Ohio State warm up game at that point, but again, like I think coming out hot is very important. Oregon has a ton of hype this year. Ohio State has a ton of hype this year. Um, Penalties are self-imposed wounds. You can't have that happen. Every once in a while, you're going to miss a block. Timing is going to be off with receivers week one. Not
Sure.
really for Oregon going 41 for 49, but um, good to see them be a little weak. The timeline has been flooded with that damn duck going to every single stadium in the Big Ten. They have a whole lot of arrogance off of beating up on Colorado. So
Right.
I am I'm already very in on hating Oregon. Like they've done nothing. They beat us a couple of years ago, and I haven't forgotten about that. So to see them not be ready to go, I was happy to see it.
Yeah, I think like you said, you kind of hit it on the nose. This was kind of where my anger was coming at you. These when you were talking about Ohio State, you were so critical, and I get it. Everyone's going to be more critical about their own team, but it was 17-3 at the half, and we won the second half 35-3, and rolled them. And
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure, and I can very much say this. I think people might agree. Akron is not much better than Idaho, who plays in a fucking dome. They're an FCS team,
yeah,
and Fresno State, I'll give it, they're better, but for Oregon, I was, their fan base is annoying. They're NIL merchants where Phil Knight basically saying he's going to pay till he dies. That duck is going everywhere. They want to be called the team out west instead of the team out north. I mean,
that's
their fans are
ridiculous.
so obnoxious, but they looked beatable. And I think for you to, that's why I was kind of upset where, it's, oh man, we're so upset. We're critical of a 52-6 loss. I think the Oregon fans and the faithful are maybe a little more nervous. I don't think they're going to throw over people's head like that, especially against better teams, especially against us. I don't think that's going to happen. We will see how they progress. Obviously, they have a couple warm-up games again till October 12th, but going to be interesting, and we'll see there. From the Michigan side of things, I will say funny,
Dead,
laughed.
dead.
Um, I think Texas is going to beat them into the ground this week. I hope. If Quinn still has some love for us, if he has one more duty, I would appreciate him to fulfill it now and knock him out. They're a mess. The Warren situation at quarterback. Will Johnson picked the route once, but he was kind of getting burnt. It felt like Donovan Edwards is like the third back on this team. Alex Orji can't throw a pass more than 5 yards. I know he had the passing touchdown to Edwards in the first quarter, but it was 16-10 in the fourth quarter. I mean, they were a touchdown away. They
Take
had
away the
just
pick
scored.
six too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it was a game, and Fresno State's a tough team in the Mountain West, but I don't know. We'll see. This is a big game for them. I think a lot of people discredit them. The line for next week went from 3.5 to 7.5 already. Texas I think it's at Ann Arbor too. Texas is 7.5 point favorites.
Yeah.
So we will
Mhm.
see. It's a high voltage offense that'll be good against good. Hopefully Texas can come out on top. That would be ideal. And we'll see. But I think a lot of fans, especially in the Michigan space, are a little nervous.
A little I mean, they're dead. In my mind, they are as good as dead. Donovan Edwards is not as advertised. They look lost. Obviously, there are other teams. Oklahoma State comes to mind that have a ton of seniors coming back. So they have a ton of seniors this year. So next year, like who knows what Oklahoma State looks like? We're seeing that with Michigan this year. Like they lost 18 of 22 starters, I believe was the answer, and like
Right.
Donovan Edwards being one of the returners looks like shit. Um, they don't have the guys, and they don't know the other team's plays this year. So I really do think like this was a perfect example. I'm very happy pointing a finger at them and being like, see, like we were right. They're not all that. They don't have like the dominance in the trenches either to really just control the clock
Yeah,
like they
they
did
got
last year.
sacked a couple times, and they were getting beat on the line a little, which kind of shocked me because their D line is very touted. Mason Graham, they got some good dudes on
Yep.
that team that dominate the ball, and they were being thrown around like rag dolls this week.
Yeah, Sharon Moore, first year head coach, but has been in the system for a while, so you got to let him have his growing pains. But yeah, laughing at them, they're dead. Another fight in the tunnel at Ann Arbor. So there's been a Penn State fight, a Michigan State fight, an Ohio State fight, now a Fresno State fight. The common denominator here is the stupid ass tunnel and the trash ass Michigan Wolverines. They are unironically the easiest team to hate. They are classless. They think they're hot shit. Dave Portnoy is a perfect example of what a Michigan man is, just like a scumbag piece of shit. Uh, I'm happy to watch them get smoked by Texas. Maybe if they cover somehow, even though they're dogs at home, they're still alive. I think they were one of the lowest preseason rankings for a national championship. For a national champion, they started the week at 9. We'll see where they go from here, but their season could be over in a matter of 5-6 weeks.
Love that. I hope so. I hope so. Wrapping up now before we hit to our interview. Quick takes. Bears Titans this week. What do you got?
Bears at home -4.5. No DeAndre Hopkins. Will Levis comes to town, which that doesn't have me quaking in my boots. Coming out party for Caleb Williams, who was named a captain this week, which I think is a very, very high honor. I'm hammering -4.5. I'm not a huge gambler, so no big player props to report today. But I want to see them come out hot. It's been my story all week. For the Buckeyes included, I want to see them come out hot. I want to see the defense be what they were last year, and I want to see some points. Caleb Williams, they're expecting him to be the best single season in Bears history as a rookie. So we'll see if that party starts this week or if he really is a rookie and we need to temper our expectations a little bit. But I am very excited.
Week one loss. What goes on in that city?
Obviously depends how it goes down, but like say Caleb throws 3 picks and looks like a shell of himself. He looked confident in the
Yeah, he
preseason,
did.
which
He
I
looked
thought,
great.
yeah, which I thought was really important. If now suddenly the lights are too bright for the great Caleb Williams, we got some problems. We cannot keep missing on quarterbacks. I don't think we did. It's a long season. We were lucky enough that our division games are really backloaded into like week 11 or later, which I think
Get
is
loose. Yeah.
purposeful by the NFL to allow Caleb Williams to get loose. So we same thing as college football week 1. We are not pressing the panic button, but the Titans are an extremely beatable team. It's not a must win, but it's a should win. Like 4.5 points should be easy to do. But it's a long season. We're not if it's a loss, we're not hitting the panic button. If it's a win, we're going to the Super Bowl.
Understandable. Understandable. Yeah, that's completely fair. Completely fair on that in grand scheme of things. Cowboys at Browns this week for week one. NFL starting back up. Can't wait to hear Scott Hansen's voice. He's not
Yes.
my clutch moment of the week, but maybe next week he will be because that voice will be like God welcoming back to heaven. But week one at Browns, Cowboys 2.5 point dogs on the road. Looks like they are going to have a battle on their hands. CD signed, which was great, helps us
Yep.
out. I have a feeling. I don't want to jinx it. I hope they can do it. I don't think they're smart enough to do it, but I have a feeling that Jerry Jones might shock the world this week, potentially on Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. Jerry likes the limelight. Jerry likes the spotlight.
He
And last
does.
year, the Bengals took it right away from Kansas City, and Kansas City lost to Detroit week one, and Burrow signed a new contract. Maybe Jerry follows suit and does the same thing with Dak. So that would be very interesting to see. Um, my stance on the Cowboys hasn't changed. I think they're a 9 to 10 win team at best, maybe a wild card team. But this is the one I want them to win. I'm not throwing any money on it. Maybe a friendly bet with all the other guys. But this is the one I want. I want this one. I want
Okay.
one. I don't want to lose to Cleveland. I don't want all my friends to have this over us. They got us last time with probably OBJ's best game in his career since the New York Giants catch when he catched it with one hand, which the Giants lost that game. But probably the best game he had out of Brown with Baker. And that was in Jerry's world. So this time it'll be in Cleveland. Let's hope we can come out with a win. CD will be back. I don't care what all the reports say. And I think we're going to see a good, strong Dak Prescott start. And hopefully our D line and the run game, let's get to the quarterback, sack Watson, and let's come away with a win.
Yeah, I think the defense will be super important after the boat racing the Packers gave them in the playoffs. Like, let's see how they respond. It's been a whole long offseason of the Cowboys can't do
New
it.
DC.
New DC. So I think that's even more important than Dak. Dak's going to do what Dak does. throw for a whole ton of yards. I hope the running game is at least able to be leaned on a little bit. But yeah, it really sucks losing to Cleveland. Bears played the Browns a couple years ago with Fields, and he got sacked 9 times, and that was not fun to be in Ohio for. So
Yeah.
I feel you on that one.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm hoping they can come out and get this one. I'm very, very pro O line. It's going to be an interesting start for them. Miles Garrett versus Tyler Guyton and Connor Beebe, who are two rookies they took this year, is going to be a big welcome to the league moment.
Yeah.
Should be very interesting to see how they say that. I don't know what Denzel Ward's status is. I'm pretty sure he's playing. I know he was battling concussion stuff, but as of right now, no crazy injuries for the Cowboys. So come out, show up. Kalen Carson, name to watch. He's gonna be He's gonna be CB2 right now behind Diggs, Bland out for the year. So name to watch. Wake Forest, 5th round pick, number 21. The seatbelt. People have been calling him at camp. I'm not willing.
Mm.
I'm not willing to be calling him that yet, but that's his nickname at camp. That's right. So we'll see how he does.
Let's go. All right. NFL Week 1 preview. Football is all the way back. And what better way to start that off than a great interview with our friend Michael O'Hara talking fantasy football, his transition from environmental engineering to sports writing. We'll kick it to our interview now. And now, welcoming into the studio, Michael O'Hara, fellow Pledge brother from the Pledge class of Spring 20, environmental engineering major at Ohio State, and now doing some really cool stuff, writing for the Sporting News, Roto Street Journal, and TWSN, covering fantasy football and overall football stuff. A great, great writer, even better person. Michael O'Hara, welcome to the studio. How you doing?
I'm not too bad. I'm excited to be here, guys, making my wrong side appearance. Happy to finally take this out of the group chat and get talking on the podcast. I mean, it's been a long time coming, and I'm just excited to talk some football. I mean, we've bridged the gap, guys. We've made it from February to next September. I've successfully, all of us have successfully killed 6-7 months, and we're back. We're going to be in full swing here until February. I could not be more fired up. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. You're absolutely right. Joey and I have talked about it on past episodes. The dog days of summer. Luckily for him, at least, I know he's not a big fan, but the Cubs have kind of stuck around. They're in the wild card
Yeah.
race. Like, there's been something to kind of put your attention towards. Obviously, the Angels have not, so it's been tough. And I feel like August, maybe underrated. August, maybe worst month of the year. Like, there's really nothing. You get like the Olympics were over. Baseball's kind of winding down, so like not really much. No basketball. Maybe August, so maybe a new take to look upon. But we're here now, like you said. Thursday, we're recording this on Monday, September 2nd. But in 3 days, Chiefs Ravens, so that'll be great. And obviously, Ohio State and the rest of college football started last weekend, and now we're here. So Mo, for the viewers listening, watching who don't know who you are, like Joey mentioned, he was in our fraternity with us. Now writing for a lot of sports news outlets and doing that full time. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into the industry.
Yeah, so I went to Ohio State. I'm from the Ohio area. I grew up in Dayton, so Ohio State was just kind of one of those schools that was on my radar throughout my high school experience. Ended up joining Beta with Michael and Joey. I was in Joey's pledge class. Like Joey mentioned, I was going down the engineering route throughout my time in college. Ended up getting my degree in environmental engineering, but beginning of my senior year, I was just kind of like, I don't really want to be an engineer for the next 40 years of my life. Like, can I do something that's not this? Like, I will if I have to, but I really don't want to if I don't have to. And I was like, what would I want to do for the next 40 years of my life? And talk about fantasy football. I mean, like, it sounds kind of ridiculous. Like, if a lot of people would if they could, but I was like, I'm in my 20s. I might as well try right now. And they're like, I'm not going to be able to do it at any other point in my life. So just started. I've been doing this for a little over like almost a year and a half now. I just started firing off DMs to people who had their own media outlet. I started writing at a place called Roto Street Journal. Check it out, rotostreetjournal.com, if you are interested in the fantasy football nonsense. But I started writing there a little over a year ago now, and it's just kind of been a whirlwind journey. Now I write full time for a place called the Sporting News, one of the oldest sports media outlets in the United States. Like they used to do a huge magazine. Now it's all digital print only. So I am one of their fantasy football writers and content creators there. I do a couple of my own podcasts on the side, talking fantasy and stuff. But really at the end of the day, I'm just like your buddy who was way too into fantasy and then ended up trying to do something with it. And I'm a lot further down the path than I thought I would be at this point. But doing fantasy football 40 hours a week is not something that I was ever going to say, thought I was going to say in my life. But here we are. And I couldn't be happier to share my thoughts with you guys and just talk some ball for the next 30 minutes or so.
Yes, sir. That's amazing. I have to stir the pot early. A couple weeks ago, Michael Sharber's Tone Deaf Person of the Week was the fantasy football guru. Everybody hates the guy who runs the league and thinks he knows what he's doing. Luckily for O'Hara, you're actually making some money off of it, which is amazing. But really, I think that's super impressive. Like you said, everyone would do this if they could. We're trying our best at it as we speak right now. When talk me through when you got that first DM back from Roto Street or the Sporting News. Like when that came through, you must have been like, wow, like this is actually a real opportunity as opposed to just thinking about writing about fantasy football.
Yeah, so the first one, like I was just on a walk downtown in Columbus, by the Scioto River, and I just like I got the Twitter DM back, and I was just like, I like someone wants to pay me to talk about fantasy football and write about fantasy football. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. And then this really the same thing. I was on campus. It was maybe a month and a half ago. I was on campus and I got an email back like saying that they were going to hire me on to cover fantasy football at the Sporting News. I was like, I really just can't believe they pay people 40 hours a week to do this stuff. But I mean, someone's got to do it. I mean, this day and age, there's thousands of fantasy football sites out there, and like it's just the business is booming. There's millions and millions and millions of dollars in the business. But going back to what Mike said, I'm happy to take on that role of the fantasy guru, the guy that cares a little bit too much. At the end of the day, I mean, yeah, I understand that there is some luck involved with fantasy, and I can come off like as a bit of a jackass, but I'm more than okay with it. I wear that badge with pride, and it's what I love doing, and I'm really happy. And yeah, like I said, it's all a shock, and it's been a whirlwind of a last year and a half or so. So going from something like engineering to something where I'm just talking about sports for most of my time, it's a bit different, but I'm pretty happy to be where I'm at these days.
Yeah, that's. Go ahead,
I
Jerry.
called, I was talking to Brian on the phone the other day. This is for the listeners. Obviously, O'Hara was there, but when I'm done with work, I'll come out and see my roommate Kyle, and we're just like, "Hey, how's it going?" Like, kind of depressed after a day of work. O'Hara came in when I was on the phone with Brian, and he was like, "What's up, Brian? How you doing? How was your day?" And there was a whole ton of energy. So I'm just I'm super impressed with you that you got here. It sounds like life is going super well, and it's just awesome to watch. The tweets are great. MOH_FFB Mo Fantasy Football on the Twitter. A lot of great takes, a lot of which that we're going to be challenging here today. But I'm happy for you, man. I'd love to be in that spot. It's looking like it's going great.
Yeah, my Twitter just shit posting my general thoughts and musings. So if you want some access into the recesses of my mind and what I think about the NFL and how it applies to fantasy football, go ahead and drop a follow. But I can just promise that nothing more than just general nonsense coming, just whatever I think immediately after something happens in the world of the NFL. It's weird. I guess I'll ask you guys like this. What do you think about like they stretch the NFL calendar to 12 months long? It's ridiculous.
Oh,
Like it's like it keeps me busy, like which is nice, but
I think it's
I think
exactly
it's
what you said. You
insane.
were like, we've made it to August. Like, I'm super okay. Make it 14 months. Like, let's add 2 more months where it's just like shows of them
no.
just like talking. Like, let's.
Hard Knocks is good. Like obviously the Bears were on it this year, so I was more involved in or more paying attention to training camp than I usually do. But I am so tired of the touchdown to interception training camp stats that are being fed to me about JJ, about Caleb Williams, Jalen Hurts. Now people are upset he only threw one interception in camp. So it good for you that keeps business rolling, but training camp it gets a little long. So I don't know.
It's pretty brutal. I would agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I only watch Hard Knocks because I'm starved of football
Right.
content in
Sure.
between. like if like I don't watch the in-season Hard Knocks, like that doesn't do it for me. Like maybe I'll tune in because the Bengals are on it this year, but outside of that, I mean, it's the off season is it's just a slog, man.
I
It's
could
brutal.
The in-season one is tough too. The Cowboys were on preseason a couple years ago, and like I watched a little of it. But the in-season ones are tough because like the Cardinals was last year, the Colts I guess were interesting, but I feel like a majority of their viewership on those kind of shows are mostly coming from those teams' fans. So
Has to
Arizona,
be.
Indianapolis, Cincinnati. But for me personally, like when the Cowboys lose a game, I don't want to relive any second of it. Like I would not watch the in-season one if we lost that week. To me, it's just like I'm not starved for football enough. I'll just watch Monday night, I'll watch Thursday night, and then I'll regroup again for Saturday and the Buckeyes. Like I can't I already do enough film analyzation by myself and watching different highlights. I can't see it on the big screen and then it be memed all over Twitter. Like, oh, look at the Cowboys again losing. Like I could not do that. I couldn't do the in-season one.
Yeah, I don't blame you at all. I tuned in for the very first one, whoever it was. I can't remember, like, what was it, 3 years ago now?
Yeah.
But outside of that, like, it's not worth it. It's not worth the time commitment. Just you got NFL football on what 3 days a week, and you've got college football on a fourth. Like, and now I mean they've got games on Fridays.
Every
They're
single
playing
day
games on
now.
Christmas. Yeah,
Pretty
they're,
much.
they're they're stretching it out to all every single day that they can find TV space. But it is what it is. I'm not going to complain. It
Right.
dilutes the 1 o'clock slate a little bit. A little bit. I don't know if you guys have seen, but the 1 o'clock slate for opening weekend is brutal.
Oh,
It
I have
is
not broken down the
a
games yet.
disaster.
Like looked at
Bears
timing.
Titans, baby. Bears Titans.
That's like pushing it for the highlight of the 1 o'clock slate.
Oh
Like
wow.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
that. Jags Dolphins, I believe that's the other big one. But other than that, it's a nightmare. So but
Interesting.
it is what it is. I'll take
Interesting.
games on the other days of the week.
Especially week
It'll be
one, you'll take the
football.
games.
Yeah, for
Exactly.
sure.
Going back to kind of how you got into it and writing, before we fully dive into like talking ball, when was the time where you kind of thought to yourself like, I'm gonna do this? You know, Joey and I talk a lot about like taking the right way. You go to school, to high school, to college, you get a job, and you moved on with your life, and you've done everything quote unquote the right way, the safe way. When did you decide, whether it was like your senior year or the summer before, maybe a last semester? When was this like final push, and like was there ever any fear like maybe I should still keep looking for a job, do this on the side? Like obviously Joey and I do this on the side. We have our full-time jobs. Like walk us through that process and how you got to the official, okay, I'm going to jump in with both feet and go for this.
Yeah. So I was always on like the do the right thing type of path. Like got good grades in high school, like did well on my standardized tests, got into a good school, Ohio State. Had my bumps in the road while I was at Ohio State. I mean, Joey's known me pretty well. He's aware of some of those bumps in the road. I mean, everyone has them, but for the most part, I mean, like I was gonna graduate with a degree in engineering from a solid university, and like I said, I mean, I had always kind of known, like in the back of my mind, like I don't know why I never really considered it in high school. Like sports journalism is a degree that you can get, but I was just kind of like when I was in high school, like math and science was like what I was good at, and those were like my strengths, and it just made sense to go after like a decent paying job, like with a major that would set me up with a decent paying job. But yeah, it kind of got to a point where I was like, I just it was the summer before my last so I took 4.5 years. So my summer before my last semester, that final victory lap semester, a bunch of us in mine and Joey's pledge class, a lot of our buddies, we took a trip down to one of our buddies' beach houses in Florida. And we were on the beach, and I was just like, if I'm gonna do this, I got to do it now. It had always been in the back of my mind, and yeah, I just like once I started it, like it was on the side while I was in school still, and I was just like I was always like I can't imagine myself doing anything other than this. Like I don't like, and like I said before, like what do I really want to do for the next 40 years of my life? And it was that I had gotten a taste of it while I was still in school, and there just really wasn't anything, like there was an alternative. Like I knew at some point that I was going to have to start looking for like a quote unquote real job, but I never really did. This kind of came to fruition. I graduated in December. This came to fruition in June. So like those 6 months, like there was a lot of like going back and forth, like, should I really be doing this? And yeah, I mean, I kind of just kept pushing. we're just working really hard and putting out content each and every day, and that's really exactly what I did. And it ended up paying off, obviously, and now I'm in the spot where I want to be. So yeah, it's a weird mindset to be in, because like you see, like we've got buddies working at like JP Morgan Chase, we've got buddies who are like full-time engineers, and you see other people who are at different phases of your life in their lives. Like we've got buddies who are set to get engaged like in the next year or so. And I don't know, like for me personally, like it doesn't take a lot to keep me happy, and it doesn't take a lot for me to be convicted in what I want to do. So I've known that this is what I want to do. Like I said, it's always been in the back of my mind, but ever since I started it, I was like, oh yeah, this is like definitely what's going to happen in my life as long as I can make it happen. And we're at the point where it's happening. So yeah, that's it's just like kind of staying firm in the mindset, and then being consistent is kind of how I ended up where I am now.
Passion trumps all. I love it. It sounds like it's
100%.
going great. I have so many questions. At this point, I think I've drafted pretty much all my fantasy teams, but I'm ready to dive right into it. I think it's a particularly weird year. There's a lot of people coming into the season a bit injured, some contract disputes that are still being worked out. Two of the biggest being CD that just got done, and Jamar, which is in progress. So I think the first player that I'm concerned about on my personal rosters, Brandon Ayuk and Justin Jefferson. So I want to dive into specific players here. What do we think of those? Ayuk got signed. Jefferson doesn't have a quarterback. Didn't have a quarterback last year. What can we expect to see out of those two guys?
Yeah, starting with Justin Jefferson, I mean, last year I think that we kind of just saw that this guy is quarterback proof. I mean, he's almost the undisputed best wide receiver in the NFL from a talent perspective. I know that might be hard to hear, Mike, with CeeDee Lamb being on your team, but at the end of the day, I do think he might be he's like, in my eyes, is the best wide receiver in the NFL. And I really just think, regardless of the quarterback, this is like Kevin O'Connell coming from the Kyle Shanahan coaching tree. This is going to be one of the most pass heavy, and like this is like a offensive scheme that's like a plug and play quarterback type of deal. Not not entirely, but
Yeah.
for the most part, I mean, this is a plug and play type of deal like we see in those Shanahan offenses. I mean, for God's sake, like this Kevin O'Connell had people calling Josh Dobbs the pastronaut last year. We got multiple 300-yard games out of Nick Mullins. I mean, Sam Darnold could realistically lead the league in dropbacks this year, and it's not unfathomable. I mean, the combined collective unit as a whole last year of the Vikings quarterbacks, they started 4 different quarterbacks. They passed for the most yards as a team last year, and Kirk Cousins only played 8 games. So this is an offense that can support a high volume passing attack and a high output. And I believe Justin Jefferson is talented enough, even with the skepticism surrounding Sam Darnold. He's talented enough, and there's just going to be enough dropbacks and enough pass attempts out of Darnold to keep him afloat. I think he's a very fine middle of the first round pick. Obviously, like you understand that the wheels can come off with
Yeah.
the lack of a guarantee like Darnold. But I'm willing to bet on talent and the fact that I believe in Kevin O'Connell's system in terms of a success standpoint and a volume standpoint for the passing attack. But then with Ayuk, it's I took it. So I've been drafting since April. Like
Oh my
I did a
God.
draft. Yeah, I did a draft actually earlier than that. I did a draft in Joey's apartment on St. Patrick's Day weekend. So
Yeah.
earlier than that, yeah. So I took the Ayuk stuff as a generational buying opportunity. He was slipping in drafts. I was always on the side that he was going to stay in San Francisco. Um, he obviously, like, there was some weight to the Pittsburgh stuff, but now
Yeah.
we know he's gonna stay in San Francisco, and I adopted the mindset that he was, and I was buying the dip when he was slipping in drafts. I mean, this guy is insanely talented. And like I said, we're just going back to Kyle Shanahan, just the best offensive scheme that you can ask for, arguably out of other than Mike McDaniel or Sean McVay. It's those top 3, and bar none the rest of the coaches. So that's all you can ask for in terms of an offensive standpoint. And this was one of the most efficient wide receivers in the NFL last year. Yards per reception up there among the best wide receivers in the league. Yards per route run up there as one of the most efficient wide receivers in the league. It's a low volume. Brandon Ayuk
That's
only
what I
had
worry about.
Yeah, he only had I think it was 110 targets last year, somewhere in that range, and that's not like what you want out of like someone who you're drafting in the second or third round of your draft. But at the end of the day, this is like I am concerned about if Trent Williams doesn't play.
I was
Trent
literally
Williams,
waiting to say, I was just going to say, what is the impact on Trent Williams of Brandon Ayuk? Because
insane.
against Cleveland
It's
last
insane.
year, everyone, when they went on that little skid, it was a 3-4 game skid, Cleveland, and I think they lost to Philly maybe or someone else. They went like a 3-4 game skid. It was right after they beat Dallas in the regular season. They beat Dallas,
Mhm.
and then after that, 3-4 games. And watching that Cleveland game, they didn't have Debo, and I don't know if they even had CMC, but they didn't have Trent Williams. And that was the cause of concern those 3 games, I thought. They had the weapons. They still have, I mean, they had guys, Juwan Jennings had like a career year in San Francisco last year. So like it wasn't like were short of weapons. But Trent Williams' situation, I think, brings up the issues of Purdy / everybody else on that team, because if he's getting sacked, if he's not protected, none of those guys are going to eat.
Oh, 100%. I agree. I mean, you look at the 4 games. Trent Williams either left games with injury or fully missed 4 games last year. They went 0-4. They scored less than 20 points in all 4 games. Purdy's touchdown to interception ratio was 3-9 in those 4 games, I believe. Or it was something brutal, like just absolutely completely like not on par with what we saw for the rest of the season. The 49ers offense takes a significant step back when Trent Williams isn't on the field. And I don't think the casual NFL fan kind of understands the weight of what a left tackle can do, who's of the caliber of Trent Williams. I mean, the guy's 36 years old, and they're putting him in motion, like to go make blocks, and like they're snapping the ball while he's in motion. It's like what the Dolphins do with Tyreek Hill. They're doing it with their left tackle. Like it's absurd what this guy can do for this offense, and his ability to be on the field or not. And he legitimately doesn't have to play. This guy has made $100 million in his NFL career. He doesn't have to take the field if he doesn't want to. He has built, like we like to joke about it in a gambling sense, but this guy has built generational wealth,
Right.
and he does not have to take the field if he doesn't want to. So yeah, if Trent Williams isn't on the field, I'll be scared shitless for my investments in Brandon Ayuk in the third round. So, but if Williams is on the field, I think it's a great spot to be in, buying the dip on Brandon Ayuk. But I'll say it right now. I mean, I'll be taking the 49ers team total under on Monday Night Football in Week 1 if Trent Williams doesn't suit up, and he is trending to not. So yeah, that is a situation to monitor, because it's weird to say, but the presence of the left tackle in San Francisco plays a huge role in the effectiveness of all of the skill players here.
I actually agree 1000%. Like you said, that importance of left tackle. Obviously he's not a Cowboy anymore, but over the last 3 years, Tyron Smith, he held that block down. He was there every week. He got hurt early into the season last year, about 3-4 games, and he missed a game. And then they decided no more practice. Tyron Smith stopped practicing up until the game. So Monday was walkthrough or film review, and Tuesday's walkthrough, and Wednesday, Thursday, Friday's practice. He didn't practice. He sat there. He did his reps, like dry reps, and it's important. Dak was always one to struggle in games like that. You saw it because a lot of teams, yeah, they might have the weapon depth on wide receiver, and I like to joke about, especially the Cowboys from running back. Everyone, in my opinion, is freaking out about Rico Dowdle. In my opinion, for 4 straight years before they got Zeke, they talk about plug and play. They were plugging and playing old running backs, 1,000 yards, 1,000 yards, 1,000. It didn't matter who was back there. They were getting 1,000 yards. So the line is more important, which I'm always pro line. But it's very interesting to see the Trent Williams situation, because that is one that I don't see resolving as easy as the Chris Jones situation last year on Thursday Night Football when they started the year, when he was up in the suite. And I think by like Monday morning, he was a Chief again. So I think it's going to be a little more negotiation, especially with where the market's at, paying Ayuk. And the Niners, not unfortunately, I really don't give a shit about them, but they're running out of time with their 7th round salary cap hit. And it'll be very interesting to see, but maybe Kyle Shanahan is going to keep showing us that quarterbacks plug and play for the Niners. So I guess we'll never know there. But my opinion that he had one running or wide receivers. I'm very curious about the running backs. For some reason, I don't know if it's like, maybe it's just my opinion on the running backs. Maybe I'm completely wrong. I feel like this is the first year that there is such a significant drop off in running back so fast. And I'm a big zero running back, hero running back, whatever you want to call it. I like kind of doing that. If the running back is there, like I got Bijan in one draft, I got Brees in another, because they just fell to 6 and 7. They ended up falling somehow. But I'm usually just going to take receivers. Most of my drafts, like last night, I took one. I had Jettas in the first. I got him at 6, and I got Marv at, what was that, 10, 15. So, like, the wide receivers I'm definitely still using, but the running backs, where do you see a lot of these running backs go past like Gibbs? Like, after Gibbs, I feel like there's kind of a significant, some would say significant drop off. And my main question about running backs, I know this is going to be tough to hear as a Bengals fan. Are you buying Nick Chubb stock as much as I am? I'm buying a ton of 11th, 12th round Nick Chubb stock and sitting him on the bench for 4 weeks.
So there's a whole spiel I could go on this running backs thing. We could talk for 45 minutes about this, but you're right. You're spot on. The drop off is enormous. There's really 5-6 running backs that I'm willing to take in the first 2 rounds at cost. Christian McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson, Breece Hall, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Devon Achane. I'm willing to take them at cost in rounds 1 or 2. The rest of them, it's people don't seem to understand like where the NFL is going with the running back position. Everyone is in a committee now. They're looking to keep these guys healthy. They're looking to minimize their touches, and people in fantasy football, they just take a running back like egregiously ahead of where they should be for the sake of filling out the position. There's only so many running backs who can be true difference makers in a fantasy football season. And I believe that it's the 5 that I just named. Like, you can make the argument for Saquon or Taylor. I don't really take them at cost. They're both really end of first round picks. But like the advantage of having one of those like guys who really rises up and makes a difference is enormous in fantasy football. Like, those are the guys who are consistent. Like last year, Christian McCaffrey. Like, if a running back has one of those seasons, that's the guy who's going to be on all of like the championship rosters. Like ESPN always does that thing. Like, player X was on X percentage of championship rosters. Like, if you have that running back, it's a massive advantage. But there's such a finite number of them in football anymore that I'm just not willing to take a guy like Rachaad White in the 2nd or 3rd round. Like, you see him go in the 3rd round a lot in these home league drafts. He is a bad running back. We don't have to get into that spiel, but he is a bad running back. They're propping up these like questionable profiles just for the sake of filling out their running back slot, and you can get the similar production or just a minor step down like 6 rounds later. Like, I don't care what you think about Najee Harris. That guy is gonna go for 250 carries and 1,000 yards as long as he stays healthy, and he is gonna produce probably at the same level of some of these guys who are being propped up in the 3rd, 4th round. I really wouldn't be shocked. It's very much, unless you can get one of those guys who has absurd upside in the first couple of rounds, just wait. And that's what I do in all my drafts. I did a draft yesterday. I started 4 straight wide receivers and didn't take a running back until the 6th round because guys like I said before, Rachaad White went in the 3rd round. It's pretty bad. But moving on to Nick Chubb, I've been pretty firmly on this take throughout the offseason. I think he is one of the worst picks in fantasy football. Okay, so let me rephrase. If you say you're getting him in the 11th or 12th round, like, be my guest. Go ahead.
Right. Yeah. I'm taking him 11, 12. I haven't got him anything sooner than that.
Yeah.
I probably won't. I don't think it's like a horrible pick, but I just know that like in my home leagues, I said the same thing about TJ Hawkinson. Like, the 8th or 9th round is going to roll around. Someone's gonna be like, oh, Nick Chubb hasn't been taken yet. Like, how is this humanly possible? It's Nick Chubb. And I've written a lot about this offseason. People, not every ACL tear is created the same. And I think people kind of understand that after just seeing what Nick Chubb, like the physical pictures of the injury, that was an obliteration of the knee. And that's the 2nd time he's had that sort of injury to that knee. This is a type of injury that takes a long, long time. Like, those multi-ligament tears, they typically take 2 years to recover from. We saw Javonte Williams last year look like a shell of his former self after coming off of a multi-ligament tear. So the guys who take him in like the 7th, 8th, 9th round, I mean, be my guest, burn a roster spot. I mean, this guy will not be available until at least week 5. Now, I don't think he's going to play a meaningful role in the Browns offense until at least week 8. And who knows? This, I mean, you're trotting out the corpse of Nick Chubb. Like that's what you're doing. I mean, there's no guarantee that this guy is any good anymore. This is a guy who, for fantasy football, his value is driven by rushing efficiency. I mean, that could very easily be robbed of him. He's never been a pass catcher. He's just dominated by he's been propped up by dominating the workload and getting the goal line touches, and that's all coming into question now. So. Especially being from Ohio, where there's Browns fans in just about every single one of my leagues. I mean, it's not he's not a guy that I clicked once this season in my leagues with my buddies, and I'm more than okay with that. But if you're getting him in the 11th, 12th, yeah, go ahead, stash him in your IR slot. That's not an opportunity cost where it's significant. I mean, most of the guys you're drafting round 12 and later, you're going to end up cutting anyways.
Fair enough. Hot take I just thought of when we were talking about running backs. We know that like there's very few, like you said, like one difference makers at running backs. I'm in like leagues are formatted a little differently: 2 running back, 3 wide receiver, 2 flex, super flex. Do you see this happening where there's like 1 running back and like they add more flex positions to kind of like account for the fact that there aren't that many great running backs? Like I think I have DeAndre Swift as a starting running back in one of my leagues. I am high on him in like a later round pick because I think he will dominate the workload in Chicago. But running backs are a shit show. They had the Zoom call last year and everything. It didn't help. People are hurt. Like running backs stink. And so I think there has to be like some sort of correction in fantasy football. Obviously, I don't think that's going to be like this year or next year. But my hot take is we should decrease to 1 running back slot and add another flex spot.
I don't think we're gonna get people to get off the 2 running backs anytime soon. I mean, it's just like fantasy football is just so full of purists and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Like it's like they have to do it the same way. But I've been pushing for a second flex spot in just about every single league I'm in. You just get another wide receiver onto the field, basically, get them in the lineup every week. And yeah, I don't know if we see. I understand the reasoning behind it. I don't know if it happens just because there's so many purists out there, but yeah, the running back position, it gets real ugly real fast. And if you don't really know how to navigate it into the middle to late rounds and you don't have like depth there, just because of the injury rate and honestly the fantasy bust rate at running back, if you can't navigate it in the middle of late rounds, it's pretty brutal. So I mean, could it happen? Yes. Do I see it happening anytime soon? Probably not, but maybe I'll start pushing that with some of my buddies.
It'll be somewhere in our lifetime between where they fully replace the players with robots. There will be a fantasy football year that only has 1 running back. That's my take, and I'm locking it in. We're
100%.
we're coming up on time here. This has been awesome, but we gotta talk about the elephant in the room. Joe Burrow is an Instagram quarterback. He has only been propped up by the spinning throw and the all-white jerseys. He's the corpse of Joe Burrow. Jamar Chase isn't playing. What's the outlook for the Bengals this year?
For the bank on the fantasy front for Joe Burrow, I mean QB4 over his last 20 starts. So got
20 starts across what, like 6 years or something?
2 years. 2 years. He was fully healthy 2 years ago. But it's for the Bengals, it's brutal, man. I mean, best division in football. AFC North is a total gauntlet this year. Thankfully, hopefully the Bengals don't get out to an 0-2 start this year. I really do think the ceiling for this team is a 13-win season. But that's the ceiling. My expectation is somewhere
The penthouse,
in the range
maybe the penthouse ceiling.
I think this is a 10-win team who makes the playoffs. Maybe hopefully challenges for the AFC North title. I mean, the Ravens are going to be brutal. I'll see it when I believe it with the Browns. They haven't won the division since the AFC North was incepted. So I'll see it when I believe it. But I think that they, at a minimum, will be a wild card team. They've got a really easy strength of schedule after finishing dead last in the division. Just a bunch of cupcake games for the Bengals this year. Everyone else in the AFC North is top 10 in terms, or rather bottom 10 in terms of strength of schedule. And the Bengals have 7th, I believe, in terms of just like projected win totals. So the Bengals are this is set up for it's Super Bowl or bust. Higgins gone next year. If they're going to win a Super Bowl, it's probably going to be this year. And they've got to take advantage of the easier schedule this year and the pieces being around Joe Burrow that they have now.
Is there one cause of concern, one group of concern on the Bengals that does make you scratch your head and think this could be a big issue come November, December?
Yeah, the secondary and the defense in general was brutal last year. Our defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo, he has been really strong with the bend don't break mentality, and they've also been really good in years past at forcing turnovers. Last year we saw the just fully break mentality. They led the league in explosive plays allowed. They were just absolutely criminal in terms of just allowing teams to rip off chunk plays against them. The secondary was in shambles. They addressed the secondary this offseason. They signed Baltimore Raven Geno Stone, brought back veteran presence Von Bell, Buckeye legend. So they've attempted to patch the holes, and I believe in our defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo to make it work. He's got a much better grouping of personnel this year than they did last year. So if it's something that it's is going to be an issue, it'll probably be the secondary or the interior defensive line. We'll see. They brought in Sheldon Rankins from Houston to shore up the interior pass rush and just in the interior of the defensive line. Drafted Chris Jenkins out of Michigan, who we may not like as Buckeye fans, but he is a freak of nature on the inside, just a total run stuffer. So we'll see what happens. But even if the defense, as long as they're approaching league average, I'm confident in the offense to be able to pull them up and carry this team to wins.
I love that. I think you kind of hit on the nose. I agree. The secondary was the issue. Definitely going to be an interesting look with no Mixon now. Jamar obviously in contract hell. T franchise tag. He's on his way out. Probably no doubt about it next year. And new offensive coordinator, right? It was a new offensive coordinator I lost.
Yeah,
He
the
went to
Titans
Tennessee.
signed up. Yep,
So
Brian
yeah,
Callahan in Tennessee. We've got our quarterback coach taking over Dan Pitcher.
perfect. So yeah, like gonna be a different look on the offense and should be interesting. I know December 9th, I'm pretty sure it is in Jerry's world. Bengals versus Cowboys should be a game to watch. I know David Joseph, if he's listening to this, we've already talked about maybe a little friendly wager on that one. But to wrap up our interview today, I have one question, then we're gonna do a little fun. Snake draft. Obviously, we've talked a lot of fantasy football. Let's see where your head's at. But before we do that, who are your three guys that you're 100% drafting? Could be an early round, could be a mid round, could be a late round, could be someone you can get on waivers. Who are three guys you believe that could win your draft?
Yeah, I'll go with the more kind of mid to late round guy. Oh, I'll do one early round guy
Sure.
and
Yeah,
then two
yeah.
guys you can go a little bit later. My early round guy is Nico Collins. This
Let's
guy
go.
is an absolute monster. I mean, last year the wide receiver 12 overall, the wide receiver 7 in points per game, and this guy was a part-time player. He was on the field for 65% of snaps last year. It was like they were rotating this guy pretty consistently. And in the preseason, he was out there for 91% of the snaps with the starters. So expecting him to be a full-time player now, like truly every down type of receiver. And I mean, CJ Stroud, you can call us Ohio State homers. I mean, 5,000 passing yards is within the range of outcomes. I mean, he was the fifth rookie quarterback to ever throw for 4,000 yards last season. And he is a talent elevator. I mean, Nico Collins averaged a shade under 40 yards per game through his first 2 seasons in the NFL, and then he just goes bananas in the last year. And I don't need to get into like the two fantasy heavy advanced metrics, but I mean, this guy just absolutely dominant. One of the most efficient wide receivers in the game last year. And now that this offense, I believe, is going to continue to take steps, the Texans signed him to an additional contract, $75 million 3-year extension this offseason. They view this guy as the alpha of this offense, and I've seen it on the field, him dominate, even with Tank Dell on the field. I don't like Stephon Diggs. I think he's still got some juice in the tank, but I fully want to invest in this offense, and I'm more than happy to do it through Nico Collins.
Love that.
But I think you might be on board there, Mike.
I got some stock. I got some good stock in Nico Collins, unfortunately. Yeah, I think I even
All
got
right,
him on Meg's team that I helped draft. So I
good,
think we both
good.
have a lot of stock on him.
And then my two mid to late round guys. One is another receiver, Rashid Shaheed. That is my guy. The number 2 in Saint New Orleans this year with the Saints. I really think that he is going to take a massive leap forward this year. Last season and throughout his career, he's been kind of a rotational receiver, like the downfield burner type of guy. But Michael Thomas was crusty last season, but I mean, he was still taking snaps, still running routes. And the rhetoric coming out of New Orleans this offseason, Rashid Shaheed himself saying, there are going to be times where I'm not coming off the field. So this guy is looking like their full-time number two. Not really a lot of competition outside of him for those snaps, for those routes. And when he was in a full-time role in years past, he was very, very successful. He played 80% of snaps in 6 different games last year. He cleared 15 PPR points in 3 of those games. He's just got the skill set to tear apart a defense. And we've got another Shanahan tree offensive mind coming into New Orleans this year. Clint Kubiak is taking over the offense. He was the passing game coordinator in San Francisco last year. I really think he is going to be the difference maker here. Well, last year under Pete Carmichael, the New Orleans Saints dead last in terms of motion, bottom of the barrel in play action usage. So like those are just kind of 2 indicators of whether or not an offense is modernized and adapted in this era. And they obviously had not. He was kind of left over from the Sean Payton era. And this is like the first time that New Orleans has seen like new offensive concepts in over 2 decades. It's all just been Sean Payton cronies. So I'm really excited for what, like, obviously this offense can fall apart. Like the offensive line is terrible.
Sure.
Derek Carr is not really good, but you can scoop up Shaheed for free in drafts. Like he's going in like the 160s, 170s, 180s in a lot of these drafts just because people don't know the name. But I'm taking him in the 120s and the 130s every single time he's there. I have him on just about all of my teams. I'm really excited about what you can get out of Rashid Shaheed this year. And then the last guy I'll bring up is Jaleel McLaughlin. He is the running back for the Denver Broncos. He is slated to be the 1B in this backfield. They cut Samaje Perine. Last year, it was a bit of a 3-headed monster with Perine, McLaughlin, and Javonte Williams. But they cut Samaje Perine, whether it's a positive sign for McLaughlin's talent or whether they just wanted to save the money. I mean, either way, at the end of the day, this is a huge win for Jaleel McLaughlin. This is really looking like it could shape up to be a 2-man backfield as opposed to the disgusting 3-man rotation that we saw last year. And Jaleel McLaughlin was one of the most explosive and efficient running backs, both as a pass catcher and as a wide receiver. And I'm really excited for both as a pass catcher and a rusher, but I'm really excited for what he can do as a pass catcher this year. Throughout his time as a head coach, Sean Payton has absolutely peppered running backs in the receiving game. In his 17 seasons as a head coach, their running back room as a whole, his team has finished top 2 in fantasy point scoring 12 out of 17 seasons. Last season, they ranked first in running back target share, and that has been a really common theme in Sean Payton offenses, just constantly checking down to the running backs. I mean, you can think back to those days with Alvin Kamara, Darren Sproles. I mean, McLaughlin is getting these like Sproles comps, so you can scoop him up as your running back 4 in these drafts. And I mean, we've seen a handful of different seasons where the Sean Payton offenses have utilized multiple fantasy relevant running backs. You think back to the Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara days, and I'm not trying to say Jaleel McLaughlin is Alvin Kamara, but for where you can get him in these drafts, I mean, this is an offense that could realistically support 2 backs. And I'm really high on McLaughlin in PPR leagues because of what he can do as a pass catcher. I mean, if he goes out there and he's grabbing 4 balls a game, I mean, that's a really, really consistent floor. And he showed legitimate burst last season as a rookie. So yeah, that's a name I'm really, really excited about this year.
I've never heard of him, so I'm scared. Breaking news, as previously thought, I'm fucked in fantasy this year, so this is great news. But this is awesome. Michael O'Hara, fantasy expert, The Sporting News, Roto Street Journal, TWSN. We're gonna end it here with a quick fantasy draft, 3-man snake draft. We're gonna fly through
Rapid fire, quarterback, 2 RBs just for Joey, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and a flex. Mo, as our guest, you go first. Joey second, me third. Quick rapid fire snake draft. You get the first pick, Mo. You're on the clock.
Perfect. I'll take Christian McCaffrey.
Joey?
Soft.
I'm writing them all down too, so I'll get everybody's.
Tyreek Hill.
Okay. I'm going to take, you said it yourself, get the value when you can get it. Joey might get the wide receivers, but I'm going to take Bijan, and I'm going to take CD.
Okay.
I could have taken
I'll take-
Brees, but let's take CD.
I was not gonna draft a single running back if you took both of them. I will take Brees.
You're taking Brees Hall?
I'm taking Brees Hall.
All right. You got to go out there and get your guy. I'll take Jamar Chase. And then for my second receiver, I will take Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Who was that one?
Jamar and Amon-Ra.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'll take Jay Jettas.
Okay, you take Jettas. I don't even know who's left right now. I got to see the board. You know what? I'm going to take some stock, and I'll get Nico Collins. I'll take some stock in Nico Collins. And you know what? This is going to be what? So that's going to be 7th pick. I'll take a great flex, and we'll go Buckeyes. I'll get Garrett.
Love it. Did Gibbs get taken already?
No Gibbs yet.
No.
Thank God. I'll take Gibbs. I hate
I was gonna go Gibbs there. Am I on for a double tap here?
You got the loop. You got the loop.
I think these are the
All
last
right,
two potentially.
Oh no, we
I'll
got
go-
1, 2. We have four.
I'll go
Maybe?
Josh Allen.
Okay.
Four straight top 10 seasons of all time at
Okay.
the quarterback position. So, and then for my flex, I will go Marvin Harrison Jr. Gotta go with the Buckeyes.
There you go.
I forgot about the flex. Oh no. Oh God, I'm blanking here, boys. I'm gonna reach here, and I know it's a reach, and I know it's a homer pick, but I do believe in him after the year last year. DJ Moore for the flex.
Wow. Yeah,
Go
get your
for it.
guy. Get your guy.
Gotta
Okay,
get him.
so just to confirm, Joey has Brees, Gibbs, Tyreek, Jettas, and more. So he needs a tight end and a quarterback. Mo has Josh Allen, CMC, Jamar. Who do I have? Amon-Ra and Marvin Harrison, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I got Bijan, CD, Nico, and Garrett. Let's get a running back here. Who can we get? I don't even know. Let me see. Or maybe wide receiver. You know what? I'll take. I don't care who it is. I'm gonna take Patrick Mahomes. We'll get him. And you know what? I'm gonna double up on my points. I'm gonna get. I'll take Trav. I'll double up on my points.
All right. I personally don't know ball about this guy, but a lot of people are very high on him. Arizona Cardinals tight end Trey McBride.
Oh yeah.
I'm an anti-McBride guy. I think his targets are gonna go down.
Yeah.
He's damn good. I think he'll be all right there. For my second running back, I'll go Jonathan Taylor, and for my tight end, I don't like him in traditional drafts, but for this 3-man league, I'm more than fine getting behind Sam Laporta.
Iowa Hawkeye tight end you. All right. That was insane value for your first pick there. I waited on the quarterback, very intentional. I'm gonna double up on my points with my flex guy, taking the rookie
You got
of the year,
flex.
Caleb
You got
Williams.
flex. You got flex.
No,
Okay.
I'm taking Caleb Williams.
Okay.
Gotta get your guy.
Who did you take from Iowa? Who did you take? Laporta?
O'Hara took Laporta.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay. Wrapping it
my
up,
team.
running back. I don't even know who we got.
Taylor late was crazy value.
I'm just
Can't
trying to think of who's there. Like Saquon's down. I don't know if I want Saquon. We got all the main 5. You know what? I'll act as if he's being just. We're deep into the draft. I'm gonna take him. I still think he's got great value. I'm gonna take Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara is gonna be my RB. So okay, so that's a fun little draft. You guys will see that one in a graphic this week, so that should be fun. But Mo, thank you for coming on. Appreciate the ball talk. That was great. Little fantasy draft to wrap it up. Good luck writing. Good luck to the Bengals this season and everything else. And now we're going to kick it to our sponsor and ad read for Clutch Moment of the Week. Clutch Moment of the Week, now brought to you by Shore Metals. Big enough to serve you and small enough to know you. See Stan, he'll help you out. Joey, who's your Clutch Moment of the Week?
Going out to Caleb Williams, heading into week 1, trying to get all the mojo we can. This week, he was named as one of 8 captains for the team. A lot of captains I know, also including 40-something-year-old Mercedes Lewis, so a very wide gap there. But the first rookie to receive the honor in the Matt Eberflus era and the first rookie in franchise history since they've been naming captains in 2007. So just goes to show you he's been doing a lot of right things, has earned the respect of the coaches and the players in camp. Let's go play some football. So Caleb Williams, he's mine. What about you?
The greatest of all time. Muhammad Ali? No. Michael Jordan? No. LeBron James? No. Willie Mays? No. Joey Jaws Chestnut, 83 HDB hot dog buns in the Netflix special versus Kobayashi in, I think it was called Unanswered Beef or like Undetermined Beef, whatever it was. 83 hot dog buns, breaks his record. I mean, the guy is a machine. He was pounding these things. And I'll put the asterisk on it. It was 83 HDB for real. They weren't allowed to dip the buns. They weren't allowed to dip the hot dogs. They weren't allowed to separate hot dog from bun, had to eat one at a time. He said it was maybe a new strategy he's going to try out. Awesome to see. I mean, we missed him on July 4th, but he was back on Labor Day. So shout out to Joey Chestnut, clutch moment of the week, and shout out to Captain Caleb Williams.
Wrapping it up with Outside the Line, Tone Deaf Person of the Week. There's a whole bunch. Michael, who are we starting with?
I got a good one that was a last minute entry, kind of had some other ones written down for the week and was like kind of okay to use them, was prepared to come on here and tell you what they are. But then I got one last night watching the USC LSU game, and this one was very tone deaf and such an unrealistic commercial, I thought. I was watching the USC game. They went to commercial. I think it was like a timeout or something. Went to commercial, and Lexus. So the Lexus, the car company, is advertising for their new vehicles, electric vehicles, whatever they were. I don't even know what car it was because I was so infatuated with the idea and the premise of the commercial. It's a husband and wife. They're in bed. His alarm goes off at 4:55 in the morning. It's an alert. Pick up mom from the airport. 4:55. It's like on his Apple Watch or whatever. Watch. So he gets up. He's like, I'm gonna go to the airport. Bye, honey. And you see him, and she goes, oh, you're picking her up? I'll beat you. I'll race you there. So now him and his wife are racing through the city to get to the airport to beat each other to get to pick up his mom. Why the hell would two fucking cars go to pick up the same person? It was like, how did this get past the first marketing person without someone saying like, quick little note, why would two people go in different cars to pick up one person? Like, it was so...
Yeah. The airport especially.
The airport especially. So this must have been in like rural Idaho when it's not LAX, it's not O'Hare. It couldn't have been in a big airport city because they're both of them wasting their time in the morning going to pick up one person, which just shocked me. I couldn't believe it. It kind of fell under the same category as the Michelob Ultra commercial, if you've seen it.
Yeah.
The people are going on a run and they're like, get your run in and then enjoy a Mickey Slim after the run. And I know like a lot of these run clubs that everybody joins in their 20s because they want to better themselves and they're having like a 25-year-old crisis. And everyone thinks you can either like work out heavy, join a run club, or get married. I know there's like the three main things. But I'm sorry. Every time I've ever ran, the first thing I'm looking for is not a beer. It's not.
No shot.
Like I'm looking for a water. I'm looking for a Gatorade. I want to breathe my heart out and just sit by myself. Same thing. Same category. Tone deaf commercials. Make no sense. Awful marketers. But maybe this is what they want. This is what they want, maybe, that we're talking about it.
You watched.
Yeah, I watched.
Love it or hate it, you
watched.
I
was watching football, so it wasn't my fault.
You also forgot the fourth category of what people do in their 20s, which is what I'm doing, is getting way too into college football 25.
Okay.
But yeah, that commercial makes no goddamn sense, but we're talking about it, so maybe it's reverse marketing.
I figured a good tone deaf for you if you don't want to use one. The DirecTV cutting ABC, Disney. Did you see this?
No.
Disney pulled ESPN, all their channels right before kickoff of LSU, USC. No Disney, no ABC, no ESPN, all of it gone.
What do you mean?
They pulled their channels. They're in contract disputes with DirecTV. So DirecTV, right before kickoff, 4:30 hits. Sorry to inform you, there have been contract disputes.
Wow. That's big.
I thought about when I was talking about commercials. So maybe
big.
Say the thing about college football again and then go to that.
Okay. That's really good. That's clutch moment of the moment of the week stuff right there. Okay, ready? You forgot the fourth category of things that people in their 20s get way too into, which is an offline dynasty in college football 25,
Oh,
and that would be
yes,
the
yes,
category that I fall
yes,
into.
yes, yes, yes.
My tone deaf person of the week, which never go against the mouse, but got to be going out to Disney and DirecTV kind of in tandem. So I was unaware of this until kind of it happened, which I think a lot of people were. But Disney and DirecTV have been in contract disputes, so they right before kickoff of the USC LSU game on Sunday night, they pulled ESPN, ABC. What are the other channels?
Just
I'm
the
blank. There's
Disney channels, like the regular Disney channels, like National Geographic, anything under
every
the
Disney channel.
Disney umbrella.
I guess there is other things than football, but that was like very impacted by the football start time. So contract disputes are winning again. That's a big reason why
Right.
conference realignment is happening. Shit's crazy. I don't understand how the mouse could do this. That incredibly tone deaf on both sides. I really can't give one or the other. But football season just started, and you didn't get this locked up yet. It's like Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, like are we just not going to see him on DirecTV? I don't have DirecTV. But still that's just fucking wild.
Yeah, I was at a friend's house last night, and they have like YouTube TV, and we
Yeah.
actually have we used to have DirecTV, like the box, the satellite, the whole 9 yards. We now just have DirecTV Stream now, like it's just like an
Mhm.
app. But I'm nervous. Like today, I showed my dad this morning when we woke up. I was showing him on the TV. Like we have to get this resolved by Friday, and if they don't resolve it, we have to take it into our own hands and figure it out ourselves. Because like I understand Ohio State. I'm pretty sure he's on the Big Ten network this week, so like not really
Uh,
a big concern. But like, there's a lot of I think College Game Day and big games and Fox noon kickoff. Like you can only get the Fox games, so this has got to be handled out. Obviously, we can like settle it when it comes to red zone, but even in red zone, you still get blacked out in your
yeah.
games in red zone.
hmm
So like, let's get that figured out. I'm very nervous, and I hope that nothing happens. I hope they can resolve by Friday because it'd be very detrimental to me.
If I go missing, it was the Disney Corporation.
If I
So
go
I'm
missing, if I go missing, blame the mouse. Blame the
blame the
mouse.
mouse. All right, let's wrap it up. Right side, wrong side. Michael, go for it.
Wrong side doesn't go out to me this week, or nothing that happened to me. But if you guys missed it last week, the U.S. Open for tennis was going on. Brutal beat for my man. I saw. Don't know who he is. Came back with the famous drink with like the melons. It's like the drink of the U.S. Open. Brought
Mhm.
two back either for his wife or his girlfriend or a family member or something. Had two. Went to hand her one of them, and then in the background, another man comes in, hands her one. He beats him to it. So my wrong side. I had to shout him out. I felt bad for the guy. That's wrong side. It got
Big
captured
time.
all over. It was very George Costanza esque with the Sunday, so it was
Yes.
very similar to that. He got caught on camera doing it. So George Costanza got caught. Everybody saw him, and everybody saw this guy 1,000%. But my right side last week, they said we couldn't do it. They said we couldn't win the big one. Washed Up Sluggers softball team finally wins a championship in our
Let's go.
softball league. First two seasons finished second place, lost in the championship against some guys that had the experience. Our third season, we won first place, technically won the championship, but there was no playoffs because that season was delayed with like rain and
Bubble
holidays. So
ring.
no game.
Bubble
Bubble
ring.
ring, bubble ring. But came out, got the number one seed, dominated last Wednesday. Champions, Washed Up Sluggers.
Love that. Did you hit him with the Jason Tatum? Like anything's possible? Like what was your
No,
quote? Okay, that's good.
my
Thank
quote,
you.
my quote was, "We're on the next season, actually," because we were talking about
Love
guys
that.
that won't be able to play next year and how would I handle their contract disputes. And I said, "We're focused on today's task at hand. We'll talk about contracts after the season." Very
That's
Jerry
good
Jones of
shit.
me.
That's good shit.
Um,
I love that.
but that was my right side, so big one for the boys. How about you? Wrap it up.
I'll start with my right side. I've been trying to look for a weeknight activity that doesn't involve drinking. With football starting, that is harder and harder to find. But my
Right.
friend Jake, grew up with him, played lacrosse with him in high school. He played club lacrosse in college. Let me and a couple other buddies know that there's a lacrosse league starting on Tuesday nights in the city. So we all signed up for that. There's 17 guys on the team, 5 of which are my close friends. We played lacrosse together in high school. So going to be good. Going to have to start training now. Tryouts are in 364 days. Just kidding. They start in like 3 weeks. Not tryouts. The games start in 3 weeks, but looking forward to getting back out there, finding something to hopefully better myself. I know it's not a run club, but we'll do what we can.
How
And
many
looking
guys on the
forward to
field?
competing. 10,
Okay.
9, and then a goalie.
Okay, 9 and a goalie. Got it. Okay.
Looking to make the move to defense. I was a midfielder in high school. I'm not nearly as fast or as conditionally
Agile.
sound as I was then. Yes, so going to be looking to stay closer to one side of the field playing defense. Also played a little goalie in my day, so maybe brushing off those
Ooh.
pads as well. Very
Ooh.
much looking forward to that.
Very nice. Love that. And wrong side?
Wrong side. The Labor Day trip overall was a success. 3 days, cabin, 12 friends. There was a hot tub there. It was all good stuff. We really try and do a good job of taking care of like the Airbnbs, the places we stay in. Obviously, there's beer on the floor here and there, like shit happens. The hot tub, we used it Friday night. We used it Saturday night. Didn't really fuck around with it. The Jets may be on. Maybe a beer, not like a full beer spilled, but like maybe some incidental spillage into the hot tub. We opened that puppy up on Sunday morning. The most foul smelling water I have ever smelled in my life. It
Oh
is a biohazard.
no.
Reedstown, Wisconsin is Chernobyl ground zero right now. I don't know what happened. Like, it truly could not have been anything like man-made. Like, that's how bad it was. And
Maybe
like,
a
I went
skunk
out,
or something got in there?
but we even covered it after like hours and hours. We covered it both nights before that we used it. So I don't know how it happened, but it was absolutely foul. My friend Jack, he's the one who booked the Airbnb. He isn't quite a fit over it, so we'll see what the owners have to say. Tonight
Maybe
we're
y'all
recording
stink.
that.
Maybe y'all
Maybe
stink.
that's what I said. Maybe as a collective, this is just what we smell like, and that's why we can't make any new friends. So,
Okay.
it
Interesting
was it.
take.
I walked out and two of my friends were in the hot tub making weird faces, and I'm like, oh
Ooh.
yeah, like let's go. And they're like, smell the water. And I was like, I gagged. I literally was about to throw up. It was the worst thing ever. So that's a big time wrong side. I hope we didn't break this fucking hot tub. I can imagine that those things are expensive. But it was like it was comically bad. I don't know how that shit happens. If anybody
Right.
pooped in the hot tub, cop to it. I don't know what happened. It was bad.
Very wrong side, very nasty. It reminds me of
Very
not
nasty.
the smell wasn't as bad, but I'm only picturing the Moop's birthday weekend in Gatlinburg a couple years ago when we had
Oh
like 10,
no.
12 people in a hot tub, and that was just body stew. So let's hope I mean, there was nothing problem there. It was just a lot of people. So
I
good to
can't.
know. Good to know it's nasty out there, though. Chernobyl. We be careful if you're in Wisconsin. But
Yeah.
that's it. That's what we got for this week. Thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe. Wrong Side Takes. Hope you guys enjoyed Jake Sharber's content at Ohio State this week. Look forward to more Wrong Side in the Wild. And thank you guys for listening.
Stay blessed.